But besides infantry fighting vehicles and tanks, Russia could indeed face very serious problems with its rear logistics, Tomahawk missiles. The Financial Times reports that Ukraine could receive them in just a few days. So that's what we'll discuss now, because Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky will be discussing on the 17th how many missiles Ukraine might receive. Pavlo Lakiychuk is joining our conversation, a military expert and head of the security program at the Center for Global Studies and Strategy, 21st Century. Hello, Pavel, good to see you.
Likewise, good day. Glory to Ukraine.
Glory to the heroes. Let's discuss these missiles. I understand Zelensky will be talking to Trump about them. The Financial Times reports that Ukraine could receive between 20 and 50 missiles. Well, that seems very few to me for now. What are your thoughts on this? Please give your assessment.
Well, we need to consider the political, military, and military technical aspects right away. And probably the financial one too. From a military perspective, the Tomahawk missile is a ship-launched missile. The American fleet has two arms, the short-range Harpoon and the long-range Tomahawk. The Harpoon is small, agile for short distances, very fast and very effective. The Tomahawk is a formidable missile, specifically designed for long-range strikes. These are often referred to as deep strikes. It is characterized by its substantial size, its less agile maneuverability, its considerable weight, and its immense power. For almost the last 30 years, in virtually every significant conflict involving the United States fleet, Americans launched Tomahawk strikes from cruisers, frigates, destroyers, and submarines against enemy territory with Tomahawks. It has proven itself very well. But I repeat, it so happened that from the moment these missiles were created, they fell under the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty when the United States excluded the naval component from that treaty. Sea-based missiles, and literally until recent years, this restriction applied to them. So the main launch platforms are the Ticonderoga-class cruisers with 96 launch cells. Then there's the Arleigh Burke, which is a bit smaller, and also submarines, the nuclear submarines of the United States. A Ticonderoga would be fantastic for us to have, but it's unlikely anyone would transfer one to us. That would cause a sensation in the Black Sea. But nevertheless, let's be realistic. After the collapse of the INF Treaty, the Americans began developing ground-based platforms. And the main platform that entered service, they started developing it in 2021, and 2 years ago, it finally entered service with the U.S. Armed Forces. This became the Typhoon platform, or Typhon as it's also called. A versatile system, a very effective one. I'm highlighting it because besides Tomahawks, it can be used to launch anti-aircraft guided missiles for missile defense, SM-6, SM-9. These are advanced missiles, a generation above the SM-3s currently used in our Patriot defense systems. However, these highly sought-after launchers are exceptionally scarce, and there is an extensive and considerable waiting list for their acquisition. The United States Army, primarily those units stationed on the west coast of the country, consistently receives these crucial assets first for a multitude of very obvious and strategic reasons, followed by the units located on the east coast. The Marine Corps meticulously tested more agile and highly maneuverable launchers, along with advanced robotic systems, but after thorough evaluation, they ultimately rejected them due to various operational considerations and logistical challenges. Though they still desire such capabilities, the current U.S. administration prioritizes the U.S. Army, then allies, then everyone else. We're probably fourth in line. Whether we'll receive these missiles is a complex question because a missile alone isn't enough. A launcher is also needed. Just the other day, the Americans officially presented their latest advancements, which were meticulously developed based on the highly sophisticated and cutting-edge robotic systems specifically designed and engineered for the rigorous demands of the United States Marine Corps, smaller launchers. But while that's something, it remains to be seen how effective they are, and why the U.S. Marines initially rejected them needs further analysis. Nevertheless, if we receive Tomahawk and Typhoon systems, that would be beneficial. Firstly, such an acquisition would enhance our air and missile defense capabilities. Furthermore, it would serve as a powerful deterrent for the Russians. Regardless of the number of Tomahawk missiles we receive, it will become a strong deterrent against the aggressor state. I'll remind you, in 2022, The Danes transferred harpoons to us. These are also sea-based missiles. Almost everyone only has the ship-based version, but the Danes created a ground-based launcher and we used it to strike the Boyko towers. After that, no harpoon was used in the Black Sea. But the Russians know for sure that if they come near us, they'll get a harpoon in the side. And that's a deterrent factor. In this context, receiving these missiles would certainly be a huge step forward. But how will we get them? Well, this really raises a significant financial question that needs to be addressed. The comprehensive budget, which was just officially approved the other day, is now for the time being in its very initial and preliminary first approximation. This important financial plan will guide our future endeavors. Foresees approximately $500 million in crucial funding for Ukraine's armed forces. To put this into proper perspective, under the administration of President Biden, if I'm not mistaken, it was $30 billion over 3 years, even a bit more. And last year, $4 billion remained in the budget that the Trump administration never used. $500 million is enough for half a Patriot system. Patriot. Or perhaps for one miniature Tomahawk launcher, if it involves development, missile modification, or restrictions like with the Abrams tanks. They even received special markings for Ukraine because secret elements were removed and the design was simplified. The same could happen with Tomahawks. But all this requires R&D, engineering work, preparation. So, will this substantial amount of money even be enough for acquiring Tomahawks? For even a very small number of them? I highly doubt it, indeed. The second viable option is precisely what the Americans did, which is Europeans finance Ukraine's purchase, or rather they essentially buy weapons for Ukraine and then transfer them to us. This option is also theoretically possible, but that requires a three-way conversation. Currently, we're hearing a two-way conversation, meaning Zelensky speaks, Trump speaks. And here's the political aspect. From Zelensky's perspective, obviously ask for the maximum. And Tomahawks are that maximum Zelensky can ask for. Well, you'll get something. From Donald Trump's political perspective, it genuinely seems to me, at least at this current moment in time, that this particular approach is a strategic way to effectively force Vladimir Putin to the negotiating table for discussions. Not the actual transfer of these missiles to Ukraine, but the statement that it could happen. Trump's recent statements yesterday about needing to consult with Russia confirm this version. So let's be cautiously optimistic. As they say, hope for the best, but rely on ourselves.
100%. Pavel, I want to talk to you about Crimea. I think it's a very important topic. There, I think this Feodosia oil depot is being finished off. The Russians said that some remnants caught fire there, but judging by the fact that this is already the second or third strike, and as before, everything is burning with a very bright flame, the occupying forces really have a problem with fuel in this region. So more than 50 downed drones, including in the last 24 hours, flew to Saki and also to Belbek airfield near Sevastopol. Please comment on the strikes on Russian targets in Crimea. How successful are they? What else is there to strive for? And what are our ambitions for the near future in the context of these strikes?
This is what's called the complex application of forces and means. You don't just send one hoping it might hit. For missiles or drones to reach targets, a combined operation is necessary. First, harms take out radar stations. Then drones strike anti-aircraft missile systems, creating a corridor for long-range drones and missiles. They break through the air defense line, reaching their targets, inflicting damage on key targets. Naval drones do the same. If we were to successfully bomb the strategically important Kacha airfield, effectively grounding all enemy helicopters stationed there, those aerial assets would then be completely unable to track our advanced naval drones as they operate discreetly at sea, thereby ensuring the safety and operational success of our unmanned maritime vehicles. This is the result of a complex operation. that's been an ongoing situation for more than just a few days or several weeks. We are now seeing, regarding the city of Feodosia, I understand it's been a primary and significant target this past week. A second strike has occurred. Even if Aksionov tries to lie about it, people in Crimea are watching not just that enormous column of thick, dark smoke rising many kilometers above Feodosia, spreading ominously over the entire city from the oil depot. They also know precisely how to check fire maps, which are publicly available and widely used. There's a valuable and easily accessible online resource showing thermal signatures and heat anomalies across the entire globe, practically in real time, providing undeniable evidence of such incidents. This allows them to independently verify events and understand the true situation on the ground, despite any official denials or attempts to conceal the truth. And Feodosia is all red there. It's not just two barrels burning. The Feodosia oil depot is burning out. What will be left of it? As someone said, the remnants are burning out. Those are the remnants of the oil depot burning out. Something might survive, but it won't be functional. And naturally, the Russian occupation army will face significant difficulties with fuel. And so will the residents of Crimea. Complaints are already coming from Sevastopol and Crimea about the lack of fuel and lubricants. It won't get better, it will only get worse. Because Russian occupiers have one principle. If there's absolutely no money available, then son, you won't eat and dad won't drink. The occupation army will inevitably get the very last of what they possess, while the entire civilian sector will be completely left with absolutely nothing. So that's precisely what should be expected. Besides the significant events in Feodosia, there were, at least today, a series of impactful strikes on various Sevastopol targets, both at the strategically important Fedyukiny Heights and the Sevastopol TPP, that famous one with Siemens turbines, and several military facilities on the northern side. It's hard to say the results of all these strikes yet. They're not as noticeable. As in Feodosia, where the column of smoke was immediately visible. As for airfields and military industrial facilities, we'll wait for more detailed information. I don't think Ukraine, our defense forces, will stop.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
This shaping operation in the Crimean direction. Not just because Crimea is our Crimea, we know it well, we know where to strike. But also because Crimea is the rear for the grouping of forces in Kherson and Zaporizhia. And if Gerasimov states that his army's next target will be Zaporizhia, then we need to ensure there's no one left to capture that target and nothing to do it with.
Pavel, I also want to ask you about this. Essentially, are the Ukrainian armed forces now also preparing Russia for a blackout? Specifically, we're talking about the Nizhny Novgorod region now. They reported an attack on energy facilities. Satellite images recorded a fire at one of the region's key energy hubs. According to the local governor, on the night of October 14th, they repelled a drone attack in the area. Naturally, there were no civilian casualties. But nevertheless, as they write, as a result of falling drone debris, one of the energy facilities was damaged. Please, your assessment of this strategy, let's say TPP for TPP, right? Let's call it that. How can this work?
I don't think these are the main targets of our defense forces' deep strikes. Deep strikes are aimed at practical targets. First of all, it's Russian oil. These are our sanctions that effectively cut off Russia's funding for their occupation army. And not only the military-industrial complex, all this crap that works for the war. Secondly, these are arsenals, ammunition depots, enterprises for the production of military industry. This is what will fly to us, can fly to us potentially. Therefore, it is right and better to destroy it on the spot, to dispose of on the spot, as Emercom employees themselves clearly say. The proper and complete disposal of all Russian shells, all Russian drones, and all Russian missiles should be effectively carried out there far beyond the Ural Mountains and also well before the Ural Mountains. As for the crucial railway infrastructure, that's precisely how these essential shells, vital missiles, and critical fuel supplies are consistently delivered to the front line. Regarding the critical electricity supply, well, President Zelensky explicitly stated that he had actually warned President Putin quite clearly that we absolutely shouldn't experience a widespread blackout during the upcoming autumn and winter seasons, because we are currently Putin is not the same now as in 2022, and we are much more prepared for this now, and we are able to respond eye for an eye. This is a form, by and large, an attempt to deter Putin from corresponding aggressive actions. It seems that just to make Zelensky failed to make Putin stop and think. Vladimir Putin is actively trying to bring us to a complete and utter blackout with his relentless and aggressive strikes. Well, such significant threats and dire warnings are being issued. The crucial strategy of deterrence only truly works when concrete and decisive actions are readily prepared to follow through on those very words. If you talk but don't act, the deterrence strategy simply goes down the drain. Therefore, strikes on Russia's electricity grid, an eye for an eye, as you said, are justified, and they may possibly lead to and effectively deter Putin from striking. Our entire energy sector, otherwise the Russians will also suffer significantly. And moreover, it's considerably easier for us to accomplish this. If we possess a single, truly interconnected system, the Russian power grid, in contrast, is regional. It's constructed much like a series of honeycombs, right? Around regional energy centers. And if one cell is knocked out, an entire region plunges into a blackout. An example of this was last summer, in the summer of 2024. After an accident at the Rostov nuclear power plant, a blackout occurred across the entire south of Russia. Why? To duplicate this due to reasons beyond our control. God, the good Lord, was with us. Yes, he helped. But the Ukrainian defense forces also indirectly helped this, because the Kursk nuclear power plant was supposed to duplicate to provide backup for the southern region. And in the area of the Kursk nuclear power plant, military operations were underway in the Kursk region. Therefore, the Kursk region could not back up Rostov, and that's how they got such a blackout. Therefore, it's regional, so turning off Russia region by region is easier than for them to turn off Ukraine. Well, both our engineers and military, and their engineers and military know this. If the Kremlin realizes this danger, they will listen to the words of the president of Ukraine.
Thank you, Pavlo Lakiychuk, military expert, Center for Globalistic Strategy, 21st Century. All the best. Goodbye.